Welcome to another episode. This is episode 5 of the InTransit Podcast with your host, myself, Mr. Nurfad. Today we will be talking about Hotshot trucking, what it is, how to get started, the costs associated with it, insurance requirements and CDL requirements, and how to go about it if you're interested in becoming a hotshot trucker. This is an amazing niche. I find that I've met a lot of amazing people in this niche, a lot of hard workers, people who roll up their sleeves and get the job done, people that really care about getting the customer satisfied in terms of having the shipment completed in full as requested. In terms of having problems as a freight broker, providing loads to hotshot truckers and hotshot trucking companies, I have had minimal, if any, problems. The problems are very minuscule in terms of repercussions or customers wanting very detailed corrective action reports. I've had more problems with full truckload and class 8 vehicle moves than I have with hotshot trucking. Maybe you have always wanted to be a truck driver. Maybe you are or have been an OTR driver for a trucking company and are tired of not being home more. Maybe you have always wanted to have your own business, be in charge of your own schedule and be home most nights, but all you know is trucking, right? Well, you could leverage that desire and or experience into owning and operating your own hotshot trucking business. While truck drivers will always have to go where the loads are, being a hotshot driver gives you more control of what you carry, where you go, and in short, gives you more in control of your schedule and income. So with that being said, here's a few things you should know or consider when contemplating starting your own hotshot trucking business. So what exactly is hotshot trucking? Well, hotshot trucking reportedly evolved in the early boom days of oil rigs and wildcatting. And wildcatting is the prospecting for oil or other minerals in an area not known to be productive. A broken part on an oil drilling or pumping rig meant expensive downtime, but it was impossible for riggers to maintain a complete supply of spare parts. Out of this grew a group of entrepreneurial small truck owners who would stand by at machine stops and oil field suppliers, and when a call came in for a part, these early hotshots would pick up the piece and rush it to the oil fields. This process worked for everybody. Drillers knew they could get parts in a timely manner. Suppliers could maintain enough inventory to supply a large area of the oil fields, and a group of entrepreneurial truck owners were cashing in on the demand for delivery services. Today, the concept has expanded nationwide to include a pickup and delivery of smaller, less than truckload or LTL pieces or items and deliver them directly to the receiver. Hotshots, by the very nature of their business, provide expedited shipping compared to Class 8 over-the-road OTR trucks that travel from terminal to terminal, where products are offloaded and held for pickup or transferred to a local delivery service. Hotshots are business LTL time machines. So who exactly can do this hotshotting? Almost anybody with access to a capable pickup truck, say a Ford F-250 or larger or equivalent, and an appropriate trailer. Trailers are typically gooseneck 40-foot flatbeds or a 3-car triangle carrier to specialize in automotive transport. There are obviously variations of various trailers, but these are typicals. In some states, drivers can be 18 years old, while 21 is the minimum age for other states and for interstate operations. And people ask, is a commercial truck driver's license or CDL required? Technically, no, not in many states. The CDL, the commercial truck driver's license as required for Class 8 tractor trailers, is recommended or required for interstate travel. All states require operators of vehicles operated for business purposes to have some type of commercial driver's license. So what are the advantages of owning and operating your own hotshot trucking service? Being a hotshot is not for everyone, but if the following advantages appeal to you, you might be a hotshot candidate. You want to build a family business. You want to be self-employed, building your own business. Haul what you want, when you want, where you want. Have more control over your schedule and be home more than you are not. Have the potential to make good money in the process. And be home for holidays. Maybe you don't want to work Thanksgiving through New Year's Day, for example, right? And it is true that if you find the right load, just one trip can cover monthly expenses. Just don't expect that to happen every month. Although it can, but don't feel like it is just a gold mine where you don't have to work as hard and everything kind of falls in your lap. It's just like any business. It's kind of like a seed that you have to water and nurture and watch it grow. And hotshots can make you good money transporting less than truckload shipments. Hotshots provide shippers more efficient point-to-point shipping. And in terms of shipping, really anything under the sun. I mean, almost anything. A dealer in Miami, Florida, wants or needs to ship a car to a fellow dealer in Atlanta, Georgia, for example. You could use a hotshot for that. A piece of medical equipment needs to be shipped, thousands of miles away to some hospital, or 10,000 pounds of time-sensitive equipment needs to go to a construction site. Well, there's another example of how hotshots can be used. So how would you be looking for loads if you became a hotshot trucking company? First, there is the old-fashioned way: cold calling, cold emailing, direct contact with potential clients, like I just mentioned, automotive dealers, equipment manufacturers, etc. But to make money, you need to be in touch with load providers on a constant and regional and sometimes even national level. Hotshot load boards are a consistent source of load opportunities. These are offices, businesses, agencies that make a business of connecting shippers of hotshot loads with drivers. There are several advantages to using load boards. They are aware of many, you're aware of many more load opportunities in each area. You'll be aware of the types of loads you want to carry in preferred destinations. And load boards will also be there to help you to find a return load so that the trip home does not have to be a deadhead run. Obviously, there's a fee associated with this service, typically subscription model based, where you're paying a monthly fee to use the load board. But if they keep you busy, it's all worth it, right? In the end, so it's the fee. It's a cost of doing business, but it's not going to run you out of business. It does not cost an arm and a leg. So, how long are these runs when you're doing hotshot trucking? Hotshot trips can be to the next town over or even across the country. Of course, after you deliver the load, you may have to return home without a so-called revenue load, or you would have to deadhead back home empty. There may be instances when you'll be able to negotiate a fee that includes the cost of returning home empty. It is important to stay in touch with load boards, LTL brokers in the areas where you typically run to increase the opportunity to pick up a load that helps pay for the trip home. You have some control over the distances you want to travel. If you want to be home every night, then you'll accept only short distance runs. If you're prepared to be gone for several days, your loads may cover much of the country, working your way back home for the weekend. In terms of who you would be working for, as a business, you work for yourself. A well-run hotshot company in a reasonable location for regular loads can bring in from $90,000 to $120,000 gross income per year, possibly more. But hotshot expenses, you got to keep in mind that you will have fuel, insurance, maintenance, licenses and fees, tolls, etc. You do have expenses. Time and fiscal management are critically important to succeed as a hotshot company. So as mentioned, technically in many states, a commercial driver's license, the license required for Class 8 over-the-road drivers, is not required for a hotshotter. The CDL is required for vehicles with a weight in excess of 26,000 pounds. In some states, a CDL is required for vehicles in commercial operations weighing more than 10,000 pounds. Most states will issue a CDL for any commercial operations, and it is a good idea if you plan to haul across the state lines. A US DOT number is required for any interstate hauling and for hauling any hazardous materials, and an MC operating authority will also be required. New applicants registering using the Unified Registration System will be issued both a US DOT and MC number. As long as your maximum operating gross weight does not exceed 26,000 pounds, there is no requirement to have an IFTA or International Fuel Tax Agreement sticker or IRP, which is the International Registration Plan plates. You will, however, need to obtain commercial license plates from your home state. So at the end of it all, what would it look like in terms of the size of the truck and trailer that you would need? A truck equivalent to a Ford F-250 is about the minimum, and most operators have trucks equivalent to a Ford F-450, 550 Super Duty for towing. The trailer should be suitable for the types of loads you plan to carry. A 40-foot gooseneck flatbed trailer is the maximum length you can use, and it is the most versatile. Make sure you have tarps and tie-downs to protect and secure loads. There are operators who prefer a box-type trailer to protect loads. Now, if you plan to specialize in vehicle transport, a 3-vehicle V-trailer would be a good investment, but please note an occasional automobile can be secured on a flatbed or even inside a box trailer. Just make sure you have loading ramps. What are the pros and cons, people ask, in terms of owning your own hotshot business? As with any decision, there are always pros and cons. Objectively assess each of the pros and cons to determine if being a hotshot is a practical business decision for you. The pros, compared to obviously an independent OTR owner-operator, would be that the initial startup costs are much lower. You are essentially the manager of your business and your time. Loads are often local or regional, giving you more time at home. Hauling expedited loads means less waiting time, and the income can be very good, potentially even better than Class 8 operators in instances, of course. In terms of the cons, it will be your business, so you must manage maintenance, schedules, and costs. Demand will vary from day to day, especially in the beginning. You must work to develop your client base. You must be aware of local and state laws. Be aware of applicable taxes that can be as much as 25% of your gross receipts. Make sure that you obtain adequate and proper insurance for your business. The startup year or years are really the hardest. Talk to the local DOT office to go over legal issues and licensing. Talk to possible clients to let them know what you will be offering. And check with local authorities to determine if parking your commercial vehicle at your home will be permitted. One option is to lease your services to or sign with a trucking company that uses hotshots. So, how much should you charge for your services? Let's say you get it all to the point of conception and you're ready to go. So, this is both easy and very difficult question to answer. First, you must make a reasonable profit, or you won't be in business very long. Therefore, you must understand your hotshot expenses and what you must make enough to cover operating expenses and to pay, obviously, the mortgage on your house, maintain a home, support your family, etc. Expenses include any equipment loan payments, fuel, routine maintenance on equipment, licenses and taxes, insurance, record keeping, load board service fees, supplies, etc. What you can do is take these total expenses and divide them by the number of revenue miles you expect to drive per year. This will give you the cost per mile expense. This might be something between 60 cents to $1 a mile. Now determine how much you must make to pay all household and living expenses. Everything from the mortgage to food, clothes for the kids, medical insurance payments, homeowner insurance payments, other debts that you may have, and etc. Divide then this number by the same number of miles you plan to drive. That will tell you how much you must make per mile to support you and your family. Let's say that comes out to another 80 cents per mile. That means that you must earn on average $1.60 to $1.80 per mile to break even. That means you must charge as much as $2.80 per mile to your customer. But you want to do more than break even. You need to set aside money for unexpected expenses, emergencies, education, and hopefully maybe even a vacation in there. So, these are just examples explained for illustrative purposes only, and your figures are likely to be different. Also, keep in mind that shippers are aware of the costs and usually expect to pay a fair market rate. Your total income depends on how many miles you drive and your rate. If you drive more revenue miles than you planned, you are ahead of the financial curve. Be prepared to negotiate rates and be prepared to hold the line on what you determine is the minimum rate to meet your financial obligations. So how should you set up your hotshot company? It's relatively easy to set up a limited liability company or LLC. Like a corporation, it's only much simpler. The LLC becomes your business entity. There are many business advantages. For example, should a dispute end up as a lawsuit, they will be able to sue only for the assets from the LLC. While this is not pleasant, it protects your home and personal assets not associated with the LLC. It may be advisable to talk to a financial consultant while setting up your business. There are several benefits of the LLC. Members of the family can be involved as officers, much simpler compared to an incorporation. You determine your own business structure, you establish business credit. There are pass-through taxation advantages, and you may even attract investors. And so now you're at the point where you're thinking of, okay, well, what about insurance requirements? So obviously no one wants to buy insurance, but when something goes wrong, insurance becomes an excellent investment. Basically, you are buying protection against different types of potential losses. The following types of insurance that are either required or may be applicable to your operation are primary liability, non-trucking liability, motor truck cargo insurance, trucking physical damage insurance, occupational accident insurance, general liability insurance, workers' compensation insurance, umbrella or excess liability insurance, trucking employment practices liability insurance, or freight surety bonds. Sit down with a professional and experienced insurance agent familiar with the trucking industry to go over your plans. It is not likely that you will need all these forms of insurance. Since insurance protects against losses associated with risks, your operation may not be subject to all risks. So what exactly kind of documentation should you have for your hotshot business? You will need the following documents for sure. You'll need the business license, vehicle documents including the title, the registration, proof of insurance, vehicle for service permit, USDOT number, it's required for interstate hauling, operating authority MC number obtained with the USDOT as mentioned earlier, commercial driver's license, it's highly recommended even as a hotshot company if you ask me, and papers of incorporation of LLC status. So what equipment do you need to get started? Hotshot trucking companies has, the trucking itself has changed since the early days in the oil fields, and not every hotshot requires the same equipment, depending on what your business hauls. The following is obviously a typical list of equipment you should have. First, 1 ton or larger truck, diesel or gasoline, trailer, a gooseneck, box and or auto hauler, trailer hitch, fifth wheel and ball, GPS, dependable phone, laptop, computer access, internet access on the road, cargo straps, chains, tie downs, safety equipment, and basic tools. So that would be to get started and to look professional. That's what you would need. On the commercial driver's license part, most states, as mentioned, require a commercial driver's license to operate any vehicle in commerce. That is part of the business. If you do not already have the basic commercial operator's license, go to your local division or motor vehicles DMV office and inquire about test and pick up the CDL application and the CDL manual or test study guide. You may be able to find the study guide and application form online, so you can always research it on i.e. Google. Study the guide carefully and thoroughly and take and obviously hopefully pass the written knowledge test. You will be required to pass a driving skills test in the vehicle you plan to use or one similar to it. Again, study the requirements. If possible, find someone who has the CDL and have them coach you during a practice session. Also, if you plan to drive interstate routes or carry certain classes of loads, you may be required to have a TSA background check. This involves answering lots of questions about where you've lived, whom you've worked for, even personal relatives, etc. And obviously there's a fee associated with that. So being a hotshot driver and business owner is not obviously for everyone, but if it is for you, it can be profitable and allow you much more control over both your professional and private life. Income and profit are based on hauling loads. And in summary, you must be able to locate and contract loads and then make the delivery as you promised. A successful hotshot almost must be adept at financial management. There will be good months and there will be lean months. Finances must be managed to ensure you can meet your obligations every month. And there is, however, the potential to make really good money as a hotshot for individuals who are willing to make this commitment of hard work, sacrifice, and like I mentioned, as a startup, especially in the first 1 or 2 years, to build that strong book of business, especially in your local area and the areas that you plan to visit, so i.e. deliver to. So hopefully this has been something of use for people that may be looking at a career change or looking to change the type of vehicle they're driving in terms of commerce wise, being able to be home more with your family, find a better work-life balance. It's definitely possible as a hotshot trucker. I've really admired this niche. My niche is expedited, broadly speaking, full truckload expedited, reefer expedited, flatbed, Conestoga, step deck, sprinter van, cargo van, straight truck, and also hotshot. But the network of hotshots that I use is widespread, nationally speaking, through the US and Canada, and therefore, I've been able to talk to these individuals, and like I said, they're outstanding to deal with, and I've had nothing but good things to say about connecting with them as a freight broker, and talking about their pain points as business owners, but also watching them perform, and they really do take care of their customers. So like I said, look into it. Hotshot trucking is definitely interesting. As interesting to me as, general expediting from the larger vehicles downward. So that's why I really wanted to share that information today, and hopefully you found it insightful. If you like it, leave a comment. If you didn't like it, leave a comment, and we'll let it be at that. Again, this episode is episode number 5. This podcast is not sponsored by anybody right now, so it is brought to you by no one except myself at the moment. Maybe at some point in the future, but for now there's nobody except me in the office talking shop, logistics, sales, business, and life. So thank you again for taking the time to listen, and keep on moving. Respect. Bye-bye. Welcome to another episode. This is episode 5 of the InTransit Podcast with your host, myself, Mr.